Hello everybody, my name is Christian Quick and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the changes from 2.9 to 3.0. So we're going to be talking about the revival update because the hotfix had just come out and I realized that I never made a video about the things that came out in 3.0. So we're going to do that here. Hello everybody, my name is Christian Quick and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about all the changes in the revival update. So that's the 3.0 of Help Me Hardcore, so stay tuned. Now, anyone who has a JEI, I don't actually have one installed. It's when you have all of the items at the side there. Their names, I always use the namespace ID, which is like that Minecraft colon under the blue text. And then if you go over to where my items are, it says HMH2. It used to say that the mod was called Folder, and it should now say that the mod is now called Help Me Hardcore, which is an official thing. And we also have the server now has the official icon. I'm sure at this point you've probably seen it before, but this is the icon that I have decided to make to put in to represent the server because it is hardcore. So one of the things that I have changed is world generation, and the world generation is talking about all of the stuff of everything. So everything that deals with trees is completely redone, everything with all the ores, geodes, flowers, entities, all that has been completely redone into JSON files, so it should generally look the same. If you notice any differences or any tweaks, that's probably why. If you by chance are mining, you may notice that all ores now have a vein size of 1 instead of 4, and I did this by changing it to scattered ore. Poison grass has been added to snowy plains. Poison grass has been added to snowy plain biomes. Wolfsbane flowers have been added to the old growth taiga, old growth spruce, and snowy taigas. Blueberry bushes have also been added to snowy taigas. So that should be all of the world generation. Now let's get into the effects, because the effects get into a really long list of tabs because I love magic. All custom effects have been colored to help match what they are supposed to be like. If you're unsure what the new effects are, we'll go over each of them individually what they do, but the effects list is Anchored, which is gray, Conduit Failure, which is gray, Dolphin's Curse, which is gray, Enderskin, which is magenta, Kindling, which is yellow, Lunar Wolf Perception, which is blue, and Sightlessness, which is also gray. Giving yourself poison immunity through the command is gray, but another thing is there was a bug that if you gave it to yourself through the command, it wouldn't actually make you immune to poison. That has been fixed. If you've happened to stumble upon one of these shipwrecks, there's a chance that you'll be able to find an anchor or an encrusted anchor. An encrusted anchor is the more rare form, and will not give you either the Dolphin's Curse or the Conduit Failure. So here we have a dolphin, and if I swim with the dolphin, I'll get Dolphin's Grace, which is absolutely wonderful. But if I hold onto this anchor right here, it is going to give me a Conduit Failure and Dolphin's Curse. So you saw how I had the Dolphin's Grace. Anything that has the gray or the red marking on it just simply means preventing you from getting that effect. So as soon as I let go of this anchor, the timers will start to tick down, but this one lasts for 5 minutes after I let it go. So the encrusted anchor does not give you these two effects, and is also a harder hitter, but it's a little bit slower. So whatever boat makes your goat float. Conduit Failure makes it so that you can't get Conduit Failure. Dolphin's Curse makes it so you can't get Dolphin's Grace. That's practically it. I have better plans for these, but for now, this is just something that I could initialize them, just so that you could see what they do. If somebody were to hit you with an anchor, you'll have the anchored effect. And what this will do is make it hard for you to jump, and if I walk off an edge, I'll fall very swiftly to the bottom. The purpose of this is for combat in water. So here I am without the anchored effect, and then if I reapply it to myself, I will start falling. So even if I try and swim up, I don't know if I'm going to succeed. It does not look like I'm succeeding at all. So I can resist the fight, but if I just let myself sink, I'll sink, but it will not let me swim upward, and eventually I will most likely drown. We all know that killing Endermen give Ender Pearls, but now Ender Pearls can be put in a stone cutter and can be used to make something called Ender Seeds. The Ender Seeds can be planted on regular farmland and can also be bone mealed. this will grow a crop called endercorn. And endercorn is, well, sort of useful. It can be used for one of two things. You can either eat this directly, and this will give you the enderskin effect, but there's also one more use to it, and then I'll explain what the enderskin effect does. You see, now that I've picked up the endercorn in my inventory, I unlocked another recipe. The recipe would be known as an enchilada. So looking up end, and I can look at the recipe here, we can make endercorn tortillas, some cheese, and any kind of cooked meat will do. But how do I make the tortillas? Well, if I was to bone meal some of this, and we can get the wheat out of it, I can actually take the wheat, and I can actually put it in the stone cutter to make flour. This flour is going to be useful, because what I'm going to need is a bucket, and inside of this bucket of water, I can now put a bucket and some flour, and I can make some dough. I can put the dough back in the recipe and take the bucket out, and then we will have tortillas. So that is that recipe. Another thing that we can make is cheese. And the reason why I said to make these ingredients is because another change that has effectively happened with cheese is that you get 6 pieces instead of 1. This is because rennet itself is very tedious, as you can only get it from goats. So now you can take your 6 pieces of cheese. So now if I bone meal some more of this endercorn, because I'm going to take 2 pieces, what I can do is I can make the piece of meat, a piece of cheese, a tortilla, and the endercorn, and we can have our enchilada. Now what does these effects do? So if I go back and to the endercorn, which I believe is always edible, I can eat it, and now I will have the ender skin, in which if I now hold shift, it'll teleport me around. This is to help you as a defensive mechanism, that if people are trying to shoot you with a bow and arrow, it's going to teleport you just around, which is going to make it really difficult. If you want this to be a little bit faster or stronger, eating an enchilada will give you enderskin 2. And it lasts for 10 minutes, which is actually a lot longer. And if I shift, it teleports me a lot faster. I have had the misconception that the enderskin effect allows you to look at Enderman. This is false. This cannot let you look at Enderman, so if anyone tells you to look at Enderman with the enderskin effect, don't listen to them. It won't work. Another cool thing about the enderskin effect is that if you ever need to fall a great height and you don't think you can make it, if I just jump and hold shift, it'll put me straight to the ground, and I won't take any damage. For whatever reason, I have some sort of obsession when it comes to silverfish, so I added this thing called a helmite. Now this little guy doesn't do much, and he gives you a golden nugget when killed. There is another one. Now this one is infested magma, and if you stand on it, it will hurt you, so it is just like a magma block. But if I break this one, it'll drop a magmite. Magmites will give you kindling, and kindling is a very dangerous effect because it's talking about the kindling, but you have to be set on fire for it to apply. So for this, it doesn't actually do any double damage. It is for when I actually ignite on fire and I stay lit, that it'll do double the amount of fire damage. So this is something you have to be very cautious of, because it'll kill you very quickly if you're not prepared for it. If you ever decide to go exploring in the deep dark, it's probably best for you to bring a bottle of night vision. Now night vision allows me to see pretty easy, and if I wanted to collect some skulk, I decided to also be annoying and add a skulk mite. Now if he hits you, he'll get rid of your night vision by giving you an effect called sightlessness. To stop a critical issue where sightlessness would try and get your night vision away, and Quarite would give you night vision, it was a battling epileptic show that was very bad. So if you wear Quarite, it's going to override and get rid of the sightlessness, and you will have your night vision. So having Quarite is the only way to completely and safely get through the skulk. Another thing is that I think it actually looks pretty good. It almost blends in perfectly, and that was actually completely unintentional because this came out well before the update, so nice. Since we are on the topic of armor, or have just introduced it for this, you'll notice that the armor actually is giving the armor points now. This was a bug. Another thing is armor has also changed with the armor perk. Armor perk used to be you have to get an entire set of the same thing, and you would get level 1 for the effect. This has now been falsified, and this is to help customization. So now you can have 4 different effects from 4 different armor types that have perks, and you can have one of each. If you also choose, this is going to be the ones that can level, will be able to level up. So I'll now have the night vision, and then I'll have 1, 2, 3 pieces of emerald armor, so now I should have Hero of the Village 3. If I get rid of a piece and then put on a new piece, it'll give me poison immunity, and since I have 2 pieces of emerald armor, I'll be brought down to Hero of the Village 2. So this is just a really good change, helpful for variation and unique to certain situations that you may be in, but I like this change, and I'm hoping that you do too. If I look up potion, I have added every kind of long and strong variation between the potion, and this also looks for the splash potion, lingering potion, and also if I look up arrow for the tipped arrows, you will also have the long and shorts for all of those that have them. Going back to a bug that was also found in with potions, if I just have, let's say actually let's get some of the ones that don't, so like blindness, levitation potion, maybe a saturation potion. There was a bug that to make these strong ones, this was in the pre-releases, I said glowstone and not glowstone dust because I forget that the item is called the dust, so I call this glowstone as well. And now to make them the the stronger variations, you can now just use the glowstone and it will work just fine. Now another thing that I have also changed is that I have switched all of these potions, and they are all now coated without a mix-in. The way I was doing it was pretty redundant, is pretty not so good. So now the mod is once again mix-in-less. Going back to getting some magic powders, we can go into a crafting at table, and all of the magic dust can be put on top of a water bucket in this version to make the effect that it is associated with. Now, this had created a bug about duplicating a bucket, so prepare for this change to also go away in the 3.0.1 for the hotfix. And if we decide to go into our stone cutter, for all of your duplicated or just regular buckets can actually be added you can put the iron ingots, and so this now makes the buckets reusable, and like you can cycle them as many times as you want. So this is just to give yourself your iron back, because there are some people who make a lot of buckets and they keep making buckets and then you can't get the iron back. And since there's no durability, I saw no problem with making it so that you can get the iron back. Now, thanks to the community, Christopher specifically, he had noticed that there was a large spike with the shadow creature. And this is actually, we had found to be because the range that they were able to look at was way too far, and so every time there was a lot of shadow creatures in the world, it would cause a lot of lag. And so to prevent this, what we had decided to do, or what I had done to fix this, is I had made sure that the range that they can see the player is much shorter, but they are still kill easy and stuff like that. Another change that I had made is that if we just put out a couple of these things, there is a chance that a player has to kill the entity to get a lucky piece, but you can tell they're quite a bit rare. So I have forgotten to mention, but the Fortress Seeker is now called an Eye of the Heart. This is because originally I coded it so that it would take you to the fortresses, but then I changed it as I made a new structure called the Nether Core. So now that that is out of the way, let's talk about the heart. The heart is now edible and is actually a little snack. So if you are ever in a dire need and you quickly need to eat up to heal, this is basically probably going to be used for a combat item. You just kind of eat it up and you are perfectly good to go. So we'll see how this goes on. This is basically like a tiny little golden apple in your hand. As you can tell, the effect lasts a very quick, like 2-3 seconds. So, you know, be on the lookout and keep hearts on hand for when in combat. For anyone who is unaware, you can take 9 end crystals and make them into an end crystal block. Now, for the longest time, they didn't do anything, but now they do. So, when you explode, you have your explosion, and an end crystal block is a lot stronger. It has an explosion radius of 9, making it now the next explosion power rate, 1 above summoning or killing a Wither, which has an explosion power of 8. There was also a bug in with this that this would create a lot of ghost blocks, but that bug has also been fixed. So next on our list of possibly dangerous things, we have a Heart of the Sea and an Ender Pearl mixed together like this to make what's called a Null Passer. A Null Passer is something with a very small durability and has a couple tasks. You can either use it on an entity and you can use a thing called Banish, so it will banish the entity, or you can use it on yourself. There we go. And it will teleport you to the 0, 0 coordinates. Now, another thing about this that you also have to be careful for is you have to watch your Y level. Another thing is that it only has 3 durability, so it allows you to banish one other player, yourself included, but trying to fix this with mending would be extremely tedious, so use it at, use it when necessary, and not all over the place. This is also going to be really useful in the end, so as long as your height is higher than the end portal, if you ever have a very long end exploration, you can just use the Null Passer to teleport you all the way back to the main portal, and then you should be all good to go to be all set home. If we make ourselves all the way out in the jungle, we can find banana trees, and we can break the trees to make banana peels. Bananas, and you would use a banana to make a banana peel. This is no longer able to be crafted. You now have to eat the banana, and when you're finished eating it, it will give you the banana peel. Banana peels, in this version, are a little bit overpowered, and people were making banana launchers, but you can step on it and slip on it, but it will really launch you, so you need to be careful. They do stack in this version, and this did end up getting fixed because somebody had made a really big one, and they put like 15 and then tried to electrify or something, and they just launched so far so fast that it crashed the server. So I did have to definitely put a patch on it. Another thing while we're here in the jungle, a bread knife can now be used on a melon, and it'll turn into a carved melon. And now you have the melon men advancement. We'll talk about advancements later, but it'll say hold on to the melon block, careful placing it in your other melons, because as a joke, somebody had decided, Barry Jackson 15 has decided to let me say, put it next to a melon, something like that. You can make a cow golem. Now cow golems are, well, this is practically all they do. And in the hotfix, the arms aren't sticking out, they're at the sides, but they don't do anything. They are mod items, so they can drop the seeds, or the lucky piece, but normally he'll just drop a melon slice. Let's try and make a ridiculous banana launcher, just so that you can see the ridiculousness that this banana thing can do. So we're just going to go like this, something like this, and then we would just jump. Oh yeah. Wow, I didn't even take any damage. That's, okay, yeah. So you can see why it was, and that was only 4. Yeah, people were making this and they were calling it banana launchers. I probably should have mentioned this earlier when I had the flour, but if you have a bucket of water, you now need 8 pieces to make some glue, and the glue is used for things like gluey pistons, stuff like that. So it is also crafting shapeless, so that is how you can make glue. And then the last recipe I think I'm going to mention is the hellstone block has been added. Originally I didn't do this because I was worried about hellstone duplication, but it's perfectly fine and I don't have to worry about it. So the way everything's set up, it can't currently that I know of or am aware of. But then if we go into our furnace, I needed something to do with peat, and this is when I realized that the mod fuels, I got rid of them, so I re-added them, and then I made peat have a fuel of 800 seconds. So peat can now be used as a fuel. Opening the Creative tab, the Warfare was a bug that was missing the tab, and then in the pre-release, the Quarite boots were also missing. They were accidentally an extra Queen Bee boots. That was my fault. And then while we're also talking about tabs, I have added the Decoration, the Coloring, and Sustenance item tabs. Looking for our decoration, we also have a ton of new blocks. So each one that I make a material will, if it is a base material, not a brick starter, so if it just starts with a base, it'll have its basic stair, a basic slab, and basic wall. It'll have a quark brick, and that quark brick will have a stair, slab, and wall. Now for these, I'm still currently working on giving them all chiseled bricks, so right now the only variant that has chiseled brick is marble, but that is because marble has had these variants out for a long time. For the variations that are shorter, such as the diorite bricks, I don't have to make the basics because they already exist, and then there isn't necessarily a basic for the hellstone bricks. There isn't I don't have I could do hellstone, I could do just regular nether pris, but just for the sake of just being sane, I decided to just keep these as subcategories. However, also speaking of the chiseled marble bricks, while we are at it, we also have the nether prismarine we were also talking about. And these did not have loot tables when you break them. They now have loot tables for when you break them. Since we're also in this category, we can talk about hot pumice. And if you place it on the ground and you're in survival, just like the magma block, it will hurt when you stand on it. Let's turn up the Minecraft master sound volume. If you break the candles, they'll now have the candle sound. And then with the all of the mud ores should have the deep slate sound for the deep slate break. I think they were accidentally just stone, but they are what they are. So finding sheep in the wild, another change that I've added. This is a temporary fix. I've just closely associated the closest color. So rose gives red, ultramarine gives blue, new green gives green, spring gives cyan, and violet gives purple. Due to changes with the smithing table in this version, and it's only this version, the broken saw blade and a piece of hellstone can make this mechanized saw blade, and the tin ingot and copper ingot can make a bronze ingot. These were these were temporary fixes, and they have been fixed in the hotfix, so I'm just mentioning that they're for this version, but they're no longer in the game. So if I go into my crafting table and I make myself a couple slabs here, I can make a composter, but it makes a mod composter. The mod composter was made because I needed a way at first to make the mod food items to be composted, but villagers will not understand that these composters are composters. So when I had this, I noticed that there's a fix, so I said the mod composter can also make the Minecraft composter, in which you could put it down, the villager will understand, but then you could no longer make the cherries. This was simply a temporary fix and has been completely fixed in the hotfix. Now in this version, signs are a tricky statement. So they added the hanging sign in the 1.20. In the pre-release that was in 1.19.3, I had a problem with the signs. So what I had it do basically is I would basically say in the pre-release that there was already a problem from 1.19 to 1.19.3, and so when I placed a sign, I would then have it place an oak sign. But then they changed some more stuff when they made the hanging signs, and so then when I place a modded sign, it just leaves this outline. This has been fixed in the hotfix, and also in the hotfix, there are also the hanging signs have been added for all variants, and all of them are working perfectly fine as well. For anyone who is unaware, if you place a block on the ground, a villager will see it, and he will make himself a mysterious alchemist. The reason that I'm mentioning this is because his trades are supposed to be non-renewable resources, and one of the trades at this version has been gotten rid of was the skulk sensors. because I did find out that they are renewable. I have removed them from his trades. In the hotfix, a lot more of his trades have gone because it turns out there's also some duplication stuff that had gone on with him. There was some things that got removed. So bamboo block does not exist in here. It existed before, and it was because there was some controversy talking about how am I going to do it, and then I just kind of didn't even think of a way to do it. I just removed it because people were like, I don't know how you're going to do it now. So then I was like, you know what, I think I'm just going to remove it. If you want it to come back, just let me know in the comments below. Let me know on the server, bring it back, and maybe I will. But another thing that got removed was the freezer and the cheese press. So for the cheese press, if you put cheese, you can now put in, you would normally put in a cheese press, just put a piece of cheese and you'll get your cheese slices in through here. If you have a hot pumice, you can now place it in water and it will soak up a massive amount, so it is a much stronger sponge, but do with it as you will, and that is the way that you cool it down instead of a freezer. I decided to make it a much stronger sponge because it doesn't actually create as much lag as you would think. I've gotten rid of millions of blocks in a testing world. I even went as far as to get rid of 10 million blocks within one block. This is just testing, and I literally lagged for about 3 seconds in the Ocean World preset, and that was it. Just sucked up 10 million blocks of water. So a bigger sponge, I'm not worried about lag. But those are all the general features, so now let's go over the advancements as the last thing. Going in, we'll always start in with this looks different, and you'll notice that there's quite a couple things that look different. So starting up at the top, we have berry balanced diet, eat all type of berries to have a berry balanced diet. This was something that was suggested actually a long time ago, and I just got to it now. But not the last fiesta. Zoomies. It's when you eat an enchilada. You kind of probably saw this advancement earlier, but that you just got to eat the enchilada, make one, and eat it, you're good. And then after is Midas seeds. This has already existed, but these two were just kind of inserted in here. The slippery situation, if you slip on a banana peel, we actually went through this earlier. We should have gone through most of them earlier, but this is a hidden advancement. So if you just slip on a banana peel, you will get this advancement. Hold on to the melon. So melon men, this one we have already achieved. If you just have a carved pumpkin in your inventory, it will go through. In the mining tab, if we go into here, we notice that the coldest block is now gone, but I don't really think that there is anything in here worth noting. Oh, the feeling lucky advancement has been modified, so killing a modded mod has a rare chance to drop lucky pieces. They can also be found in some loot chests. And the magic tab, there is definitely quite a bit using the runaway stone. We saw this earlier. Fast travel to the center of the dimension center, which is the 0, coordinate. I'm surprised I totally didn't even mention this in the biggest thing about this update was adding the revival stone. So a revival stone is an item that you can make. I think I may have made a video on this before. I'm not too sure when. Basically, if you just have another star and you put the nether star in the center, and all you need is two netherite ingots and two ender ingots, and putting them together, you can make a revival stone. And even if you switch them up, they will still make a revival stone. Trying to test this in single player isn't necessarily going to work. The best way I can describe how this thing currently works is that it just looks like 5 blocks from a player who's trying to use it. If I click on it, it's not going to do anything because it's looking for a spectating player within 10 blocks of each direction of the player. So in this version, it currently saves up to 6 players, but I believe in 3.1, because I think I forgot to change it, so it might still be able to save up to 6 players, but I think in 3.1 it's only going to save 1 player. So this was the big dealio because we were now in, well, this is what made it 3.0. 1.0 was when I was playing in single player. The second phase was 2.0, and that was during Season 4 when it became multiplayer. And now we are on 3.0, which is multiplayer, but it's endless, because back then in season like 1 through 4, like actually no, it was like 1 through 6. Hardcore, if you died, that was it. There was no coming back, and the revival stone allows you to come back. So now we are in pretty good space right now. So that's pretty good, a pretty good thing to have. Allows the fun to continue, and also lets players come back in case they made a silly mistake, like get shot by a skeleton, or blown up by a creeper in the dark, or fallen from using a levitation amulet, or this, that, and the other thing. And it happens. It happens. Back on the advancements, though, that if you use one, you will get a totem. It normally how these work in my mod, if they have the curlies, they'll give you a totem for them. And so this one is called a Good Samaritan. Magic Powder, Magic Mix, and Magical Cocktail. I think these 3 are actually new, as well as obviously the Runaway Stone and Good Samaritan that I mentioned. But can be used in a brewing stand. I think this is if you just get one of the dusts. This is if you get one of the mixed powders in your inventory, and then this is if you actually drink the fluid, which is doable but not suggestible for some of them. That is generally going to wrap up all of the changes in this update. So that is for the 3.0 flat. And then after some time after this, I'm going to have to make the 3.1 hotfix. I'll talk about all of the changes, and the most important, or the one that I'm most excited about is, so this is this 3.0 that we're in, still requires Gekolib, but in the 3.0.1 hotfix, Gekolib is no longer required. So I'm very glad to say that I don't have another dependency. It's literally just you need the Fabric API and my mod, so it does make me feel a lot better. Anyways, that's going to be it for me for this video, so thank you guys so much for watching, and without further ado,